Welcome back to this series. In this video we will look at selectors and how it works with JavaScript. To modify or change anything on the web page, we need to select elements from the page first, and selectors are the one which helps us to achieve our task. To select elements within an HTML page, there are primarily 5 selectors that are commonly used. We can select elements by ID, or by class name, or by using tags such as div or section. We can also use querySelector and querySelectorAll. Let's see these selectors one by one. Here, let's say ID equals element for this element. For this second element, class equals byClass, and let's just keep this last div as it is. Now, back in app.js, let's say that for selecting an element with an ID, we are going to create a variable called select equals document.getElementById. Note that here document is just a class, which is having different attributes inside it, and we are just accessing it and using it to manipulate our HTML, and this whole is known as method. Now, inside the brackets, we'll give the ID, which is element, and console log out, and save. Now, if you check this here in the console, when we hover on this selected element, we can see that we can now control it, and inside this node we have selected this element with the help of ID. Now let's select an element with the help of a class. After document, just replace getElementById with getElementByClassName, and inside the brackets give class name. And console log out. Now, here on console, we can select this element in a similar way as we did with element ID, but instead of ID we are using class name over here. Similarly, we can use getElementByTagName to select elements by tag name, such as div, and console log out. And here, all the div tags get selected. Next in our selectors is querySelector. QuerySelector is an element interface method that allows us to search for and retrieve the document's first element. It discovers the element that matches any of the CSS selectors or groups of selectors specified. If no matching element is found, the function returns null. Function is only available in the document interface. A document interface is an interface that specifies the common methods and attributes for any type of HTML, XML, or other document. Let me comment this out first, so that you can see what's happening here much more clearly. Now here, let's say const select equals document.querySelector. And within these brackets, we can select a different element using hashtag ID or .className or a tag directly. For now, let's try selecting all div within our page and console log out. We've got the very first div tag and all of its properties. And as you can see in our HTML, just the first element of 3 div tags got selected. Now, before we move forward, let me create a list so we can understand this querySelector method easily. Now here, inside brackets, let's say hashtag list and log out of the console. Check this out. QuerySelector selects the very first element of a div with an ID called list. For querySelectorAll, let's say const select el equals document.querySelectorAll. List. Console log out. Check this out, it selects all elements from list. Let's try it with div for instance. The querySelectorAll method will return a static nodeList object containing a collection of child elements that matches specified CSS selectors. Here collection of nodes is represented by the nodeList object. Index numbers can be used to reach the nodes. The index begins at 0, which is the first element in the list item, and ends with index number 3, just like collection of an array. And this all of the properties of these nodes. In our next lesson, we will learn how to manipulate HTML using these selectors and learn more about DOM. Stay tuned and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel.